Honorable colleagues, any member has a petition to present to the House may please rise to do so. Any petition? Honorable Buba Yakub.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am Yusuf Buba Yakub. I represent Gombe Home Federal Constituency from Adamawa State. My petition is from one Sergeant Dai Rutova of the Nigerian Police Force, who was wrongfully dismissed from the force, from service. Mr. Speaker, I beg your indulgence to lay the petition before the House.
Please proceed and lay the petition. Any more petition? Honorable Kolawole.
Thank you, our highly respected Speaker, honorable colleagues. My name is Honorable Kolawole Babatunde, member representing Akoko, Southeast Southwest Federal Constituency. I am from Ondo State. Mr. Speaker, with me here is a petition from one Mr. Victor Olonshola, who is a son to a deceased police officer. Mr. Victor Olonshola is challenging the non-payment of his father's gratuity and is seeking the intervention of this House. Upon your kind permission, Mr. Speaker, I will proceed to lay the petition. Thank you.
Please proceed and lay the petition. Any more petitions? Appears we have two petitions for today. Honorable Beat CK, can you please locate a seat? Petitions referred to Committee on Public Petitions. Move to point of order. Honorable Mohammed Sani Abdu, your point of order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I remain Honorable Mohammed Sani Abdu. I represent the people of Al Kaleri, Kilifi Federal Constituency. I'm from Bauchi State. So my point of order is a motion of urgent public importance on the need for emergency intervention to bring relief and succor to the people of Duguri District, Al-Kaleri LGA in my constituency, because there was a very big windstorm and gust which blew up the roofs and demolished over 200 houses, and there was loss of 2 lives and a lot of injuries, and they lack even good water in some of the villages to take because of lack of electricity, and all the poles have blown up. So I brought it so that I will seek the leave of the Speaker and the House to help me take it as a matter of public importance for intervention of NEMA. Order. And I'm also seeking the second leg of the motion that all our relevant rules should be well so that I can lay it for quick intervention. May the Speaker and the House give me the opportunity and the privilege to pick it today so that we can approach NEMA for assistance. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I do move.
First limb of the motion is that we accept the matter as urgent. Any seconder? Honorable Emeka.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. I'm Honorable Dr. Chukwuemeka Ujam. I represent the good people of Nkano East and Nkano West Federal Constituency. I'm from Enugu State. I rise to second the motion, the first limb of the motion as ably moved by Honorable Dr. MS. I so second, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Second limb of the motion is that we suspend our rules. Honorable Adiogu.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues. Albert Abionu Adiogu is my name, representing the people of Ife Central, East, and North of Ife Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from the source. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second leg of the motion that our rules be suspended so that this motion could be taken right now. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Honorable MS, you can now take your motion.
Thank you once more, Mr. Speaker, and the House. This is a very short and straightforward motion seeking for assistance. The gist of the motion is that the House notes the windstorm devastation that affected parts of Duguri District, Al-Kaleri local government area of Bauchi State last Wednesday, 17th of May 2018. The House also notes with resignation that the wind wreaked havoc and blew up the roofs and demolished over 200 houses and properties, including 8 public schools and several electric poles at Duguri Town, Gajin Duguri, Shafa, and Sabon Jiri towns. The House further notes the loss of 2 lives and various degrees of injuries sustained by a number of people in the area. The House sympathizes and condole the people of Duguri and Bauchi State as a whole over the loss of lives, injuries sustained, and the damage to properties, and therefore resolve to urge the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, to quickly intervene by sending building materials, especially roofing sheets and other humanitarian relief materials to the affected victims of the ghastly windstorm in Duguri District to help alleviate their sufferings. And lastly, we urge the House to observe 1 minute of prayer for the souls of the departed, those that lost their lives in the disaster. I so move, Mr. Speaker. And
Any seconder? Honorable Shekaro.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. My name is Honorable Hassan Adamu Shekarau. I represent Birningwari Federal Constituency. I'm from Kaduna State, Mr. Speaker. I rise to second the motion as ably moved by Dr. Sani Abdu. I so second, Mr. Speaker.
It's an emergency-related motion, so I'll put the question. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Honorable Gaza's point of order is related to this, so Honorable Gaza, please raise your point of order.
Right Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues, my name is Gaza Jonathan Gbefi, and I represent the people of Karu, Kefi Kokona Federal Constituency. I come under Order 8, Rule 4 and Rule 7, that this motion, which is an urgent need to intervene in the crisis in total local government of Nasarawa State between the Igboras and Basa communities, be taken as urgent and relevant rules be suspended to enable me take this motion. I so move, right on the Speaker.
Seconder, the first limb of the motion, Honorable Charles Hosea.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. I am Honorable DC Hosea. I represent Gashakakurbi Sadara Federal Constituency. I'm from Taraba State, the nature's gift to the nation. I rise to second the motion as ably moved by my colleague, Honorable Gaza. I support.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Second limb of the motion, Honorable Dr. MS Abdu.
the Right Honorable Speaker and the House, Muhammad Sani Abdu Al-Kaleri Federal Constituency, and from Bauchi State, I stand to support the suspension of our relevant rules so that Honorable Gaza Gofwe's very important motion can be taken right now, and I seek the leave of the House, and I so second.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Honorable Gaza, you can now move your motion.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues. With a high sense of responsibility and indeed a deep sense of sorrow that I move this motion. The House notes with concern the history of violent clashes between the Igbira and Basa ethnic communities residing in Toto, local government of Nasarawa State, where thousands of people were maimed and killed, while many more forced into exile for their safety. The House also notes that most recent violent clashes between both
communities in April 2018 and is still ongoing, with violent attacks on some settlements, reportedly with the aid of hired militia commanders. Aware that military troops of the 177 Guards Battalion were on a raid operation at Uga Village, Toto local government area of Nasarawa State, located and destroyed some armed militia camps and recovered illegal weapons. Worried that members of communities, both communities, have resorted to taking laws into their hands in seeking redress over their grievances, as they have evidently sought the assistance of hired militia. Concerned that even with efforts by past administrations to try and reconcile both communities, the crisis seems to keep resurfacing. Also concerned that if a lasting solution is not found to this reoccurring crisis between the Igbira and Basa communities, it will only compound the insecurity challenges currently facing our nation. The House therefore resolves to 1. Set up another committee to interface with the entities of peace and conflict resolution and investigate all issues surrounding the crisis, including the complaints and petitions from the stakeholders of both tribes, with a view to bringing lasting solutions to the problems. 2. Also urge the Inspector General of Police and all necessary law enforcement agencies to deploy personnel to the affected communities to contain the situation and avert bloodletting. And 3. Observe 1 minute silence for the faithfully departed. I so move, Right Honourable Speaker.
Any seconder, Honourable Kaita.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ahmed Baketa, representing Thank you, Sadinga. I rise to second the motion ably moved by Honourable Gaza.
Honourable Gaza, I'll put the question. I think it's a straightforward motion. Those in favor of the motion say aye, and those against it say nay. Ayes have it. In the two matters of urgent popular importance we have passed, there is a prayer for a minute's silence in honor of those who lost their lives. And so, as the tradition of the houses, may we rise to observe a minute's silence in honor of the departed. And may the gentle souls of the departed rest in perfect peace. Amen. Honorable colleagues, first business of the day's presentation of 4 bills. Clerk is now invited to read the short title of the bills.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, Compulsory Free Universal Basic Education Act Amendment Bill 2018, first reading. Securitization Bill 2018, first reading. Nigerian Rice Research Institute Bill 2018, first reading. National Directorate of Employment Act Amendment Bill 2018, first reading.
First order of the day, honorable colleagues, commencement of debate on the general principles bill for an act to amend the Food, Drugs and Related Products Registration, etc. Act, Chapter F 33, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, to increase the fine and confer jurisdiction on the High Court of States to try offenses under the Act and for related matters, standing in the name of Honorable Betty Apiafi. Honorable members who recall the bill was read the first time on Thursday, 10th December 2015. And now I invite Honorable Apiafi to move the bill be now read a second time.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, my name is Betty Apiafi. I represent Abua Oduala East Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I move that a bill for an act to amend the Food, Drug and Related Products Registration, etc. Act, Cap F33, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, to increase the fines and confer jurisdiction on the High Court of States to try offenses under this act and for related matters, HB 199. I so move for second reading. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Goni, Acting Whip.
Right, Honorable Speaker, Yakubu Dogara, Initiator of Northeast Development Commission. I am Right Honorable Goni Bukar Lawan, Member representing Burusari, Gaidam Yunusari. I am from Yobe State. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise to second the second reading of this very important bill moved by Honorable Betty. I so second.
Honorable Betty, you cannot lead the debate.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, once more, my name is Betty Apiafi. I represent Abua Oduala East Federal Constituency. I'm from Rivers State. Mr. Speaker, the extant law that we are trying to amend is actually the bill for an act to amend the Food, Drug and Related Product Registration Act, Cap F33, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004. The major thrust of this bill is to ensure that all processed food, drug products, cosmetics, medical devices, water, etc., that shall not be manufactured or imported into Nigeria or advertised or sold or distributed in the country unless it has been registered in accordance with the provisions of this extant law. And that agency to be in charge of this registration is the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration. Also, the bill makes provisions that clinical trials of any drug products, medical devices, and all other such products shall not be done without following the laid down rules and regulations in accordance with this act. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, the major amendment we seek today is a forthright amendment to modernize the Principal Act to reflect the realities on ground in relation to penalties for any person guilty of an offense under this Principal Act, and to properly place jurisdiction for trial of offenses under this Act in the hands of the High Courts of the state. Section 9 of the extant law gives jurisdiction as follows. It says, 1. The tribunal established under the Special Tribunal Miscellaneous Offences Decree 1984, as amended, in this Act, referred to as the tribunal, shall have jurisdiction to try offenders under this Act. And what has been happening is because of this very vague provision, and I'm not even sure the tribunals are existing. Most times when police arrest offenders for acts under this law, they release them after they pay fine to the police. So what we're trying to do now is to increase penalties under this act, and increasing the penalties, we are section 6 of the Principal Act, we are substituting the expression 50,000 naira to 500,000 naira as penalty for individuals. And then, of course, in similar manner, the amendment of section 6 of the Principal Act, there was a slight error in what was gazetted. it was 2 million naira rather than 100,000. So I'd like honorable colleagues to take note of that correction. But a typographical error. The amendment for corporate bodies is 2 million naira instead of 100,000 naira. And then, of course, one of the major amendments is the amendment of Section 9 of the Principal Act by substituting the subsection 1 to a new subsection 1. The High Court of a state shall have jurisdiction to try offences under this Act, and the word tribunal, wherever it appears in the section, will be replaced with High Court, clearly placing the High Court of States at the forefront of trial of offenders under this Act to help speed up judicial processes necessary for conviction and acquittals of accused persons. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, we are all aware of the effect of counterfeit and fake drugs in the country.
Order. Honorable Ali Madaki, please, I'm begging you, please go back to your seat. Please, Honorable Ali Madaki, please go back to your seat. Please.
Mr. Speaker,
it's a serious job.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, we are all aware of the effect of fake drugs in Nigeria. And of course, recently we are all aware of the ban on sale of codeine as cough syrup in Nigeria by the federal government. As part of our legislative process, in order to stop to continue with the war against commercialization of illegal and unregistered food and drugs, we are trying to amend this bill so that you can give proper legislative backing and proper jurisdiction to the court to try offenders. And I'd like to appeal to my honorable colleagues to support this bill.
Honorable Goni.
Once again, Right Honorable Speaker Yakubu Dogara, initiator of Northeast Development Commission, my very respected colleagues, I am Right Honorable Goni Bukar Lawan, member representing Burusari, Gaidam Yunusari. Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm from Yobe State. Let me first of all commend the mover of this very important bill. Mr. Speaker, if you say the bill, the former bill, I don't think this tribunal will have it in all the states. And according to the World Health Organization said that about 75% of Nigerians are drugs abuse. And it is true. You can see a housewife, you can see children, all of them are taking Benelin, because of any law that will punish them. But with this one, definitely the drugs abuse will be reduced. So I urge my very respected colleagues to please support this bill for the second reading. I saw second.
Honorable Nasru Ali Ahmed.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. My name is Nasir Ali Ahmed. I represent Nasara Federal Constituency and I'm from Kano State. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to first of all commend the mover of this bill. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Kano State. And as you know, Kano State has the largest drug addiction problem in the country. As you're aware, Mr. Speaker, a documentary was done by the BBC a few weeks ago. We all saw the effects of drug abuse in the Northwest and especially in Kano State. 3 million bottles of codeine alone are consumed in the Northwest, mostly within Kano State. Mr. Speaker, every week I go to Kano, I see first-hand, Mr. Speaker, the abuse of codeine. Almost every household has either a son, a daughter, a sister, a brother, or a mother that is involved in this act. Mr. Speaker, with the
order.
With the amendment of this act, Mr. Speaker, I believe first of all we will see speedy trials of people that will get faster convictions, Mr. Speaker, of people that are involved in this. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, even the 500,000 increase, which is the fine liable to be paid by any person convicted of an offense under this act, I believe, Mr. Speaker, is even too small. Left to me, Mr. Speaker, I would say it should be 5 million naira, because drug abuse is a major problem. It's a major epidemic to us, especially we, the people of Kano State, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I would like to use this medium to please urge each and every member of this Honorable House to please support this amendment to this bill. I believe it is something that will help not only the people in Kano State, but Nigerians as a whole. I thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to talk.
Honorable MT.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, my name is Mami Tari Monguno. I represent Marte Monguno, Nganze Federal Constituency of Borno State. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, the amendment as to the increase in fine, because it is not in reality with the objective and subjective realities of our societies today. I therefore support the increase in fine to bring it in tandem with realities of today. My only quarrel with this amendment is with regard to the proposed amendment of Section 9 of the Act, which seeks to confer original jurisdiction to the State High Court. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, the Act establishing the Federal High Court confers original jurisdiction with regard to narcotics and drug matters to the Federal High Court. And the relevant section is Section 7, subsection 1M of the Federal High Court, confers original jurisdiction with regard to issues concerning narcotics and drugs to the Federal High Court. Therefore, conferring jurisdiction to the State High Court instead of the Federal High Court is a clear violation of the Act establishing the Federal High Court. Because though I agree that under the present Extant Act, it is a special tribunal that is supposed to take cognizance of matters concerning drugs and narcotics, but since original jurisdiction is conferred on the Federal High Court, the amendment should be to the Federal High Court, but not to the State High Court. That is my order with the aspect of the bill, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Chairman, Rules and Business.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker Okejeb. I represent the good people of Buruku, Madia colleagues. I'm from Benue State. Mr. Speaker, I don't think anybody can, in all good conscience, stand up to oppose this motion, this bill. Mr. Speaker, the bill, to my understanding, is targeting more about counterfeit drug than drug abuse. Those who bring all manners of counterfeit drugs into our country, or those who manufacture counterfeit drugs, should be made to pay heavily. I think the amendment, those who are emphasizing on drug abuse are getting it slightly out of the way. I agree. Let me fortify the argument that has been made by MT. I think the amendment of Section 9 will run into legal hot water because original jurisdiction, as he has clearly stated, is conferred on the Federal High Court. So if we are going to make any amendment of Section 9, it should be that instead of the tribunal that the original act spoke about,
which was done, if you remember, during the military era. So it was okay then, it was proper then that it was given to a tribunal, but we're in the democratic dispensation, which is guided by the Constitution. So we cannot begin to talk about the tribunal now. So if you want to straighten things out, the amendment of Section 9 should be to a federal high court, which, by the way, the Act, as Honorable MT has mentioned, confers original jurisdiction on the federal high court when it comes to matters like this. So if the Act then wanted it to be in the state high court, which existed, by the way, the state high court even then existed, but that the Act chose to confine it to a special tribunal means that it couldn't be the state high court or the federal high court. So I agree entirely that this bill should go for second reading, but that when it does get to the committee, it should be rejected so that the amendment would be that the matter be referred to the federal high court. The jurisdiction should be conferred on the federal high court instead of the state high court. Thank you so much.
Honorable Kaide. Rotimi, you are standing for Kaide.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Dear colleagues, my name is Prince Rotimi Agunsoye, representing Koshope, Federal Constituency of Lagos. I rise to support the bill, Mr. Speaker, but to put that the amendment of Section 6 of the Principal Act by substituting the expression 50,000 in paragraph A, line 1, for the expression 500,000. I think that is too small. It is not commensurate to the offense. I would suggest that instead of 500,000, we amend it to 5 million. A minimum of 5 million. And in a similar manner, that the amendment of Section 6 of the Principal Act by substituting the expression 100,000 in paragraph B, line 1, for the expression 2 million to be amended as a minimum of 10 million slash imprisonment, if possible, life imprisonment, because this has to do with life. If somebody has taken a fake order or whatever that will condemn one or destroys one's kidney, and we are saying that they should go and pay 2 million or even 5 million minimum, I think life imprisonment should be able to suffice. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. That is my contribution.
Honorable Jimo.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. My name is Jima Abdurrahim Olajide. I represent Lagos Mainland Federal Constituency, Lagos State. Mr. Speaker, I want to first and foremost comment Honorable Betty for the brilliance she has displayed in bringing this kind of amendments. And we are made to understand that this bill, the original bill, has never been amended before. The last thing was done was 25 years ago. And if we are amending today, we have to amend in a manner that will be commendable, particularly on the issue of penalty. Penalty for wrongdoings. This is something that will affect life. And life is very precious to every single one of us. And for us to have this kind of penalty to serve as a deterrent, I think it has to be combined with imprisonment. Combined with imprisonment. Whether it is 2 million or 5 million, to me, I think it's just too small for this kind of offense that will be committed by anyone. The penalty should not be less than 25 million. And I have my reason for this.
you can embark on this kind of criminal acts to the tune of 500 million. If you now being challenged in the court of law and you are being asked to pay penalty, maybe 5 million, and you have made over 500 million, you just say, how much is 5 million? I can part away with 5 million. Let's make it 25 million minimum with imprisonment to serve as a deterrent to whoever that has committed this kind of offense. That's number one, sir. Apart from that, this amendment that has just been introduced is good for the NAFDAC, because of illicit drug. When something is being illicit, it is illegal. And the basic principle behind this amendment, I think, is transformational. I salute the courage of the mover. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Order. So I'll put the question, honorable colleagues, and the question is the bill be now read the second time. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. The ayes have it. I now invite the clerk to read the long title of the bill.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, a bill for an act to amend the Food, Drugs and Related Products Registration, etc. Act, Chapter F, 33, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004, to increase the fine and confer jurisdiction on the High Court of States to try offenders under the Act and for related matters. Second reading.
The bill is referred to Committee of the Whole. Announcement is to remind members of the House Committee on Emergency and Disaster Preparedness and all other honorable members on ongoing investigative hearing on the violation of public trust in NEMA will resume today in conference room 236 by 12 noon. Announcer Ali Issa Jesse, Deputy Chairman. Second order of the day is commencement of debate on the general principle of bill for an act to establish Federal University of Agriculture, Sabongida, Langtang, to make comprehensive provisions for its due management and administration for related matters. Standing in the name of Honorable Benny Lar. Honorable members who recall the bill was read the first time on Tuesday, 6 March 2018. I now invite Honorable Lar to move the bill be now read the second time.
Order. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Benny La. I represent Langtang North and South Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, may I move for a bill for an act to establish the Federal University of Agriculture, Sabongida, Langtang, to make comprehensive provisions for its due management and administration and for related matters therewith. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Any seconder? Honorable DC.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. I remain Chief DC Lovett. I represent the good people of Ethiop East and West Federal Constituency of Delta State. I'm Honorable Chief. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I rise that the bill be read the second time. I so second.
Honorable Benny, please lead the debate.
Mr. Speaker, as we all know, agriculture and food security is the bane of development in any nation. Nigeria is blessed and endowed with huge natural resources and agricultural resources. Plateau State happens to be one of those states that is a major food contributor and also a food basket, along with other states such as Benue, Taraba, etc., to the nation. Previously, in Langtang South, Sabongida particularly, the University of Jos and the National Agency for Biotechnology Development Agency about 10 years ago set up a center for agricultural research in biotechnology and other food research technology in Sabongida, Gangnam particularly. Mr. Speaker, I wish to, on the recommendation of those who are conducting this program in the University of Jos, that the Sabongida location of the center where the food research is and biotechnology research is currently going on be transformed into a University of Agriculture in order to further have the full facilities for research. Mr. Speaker, we all know that the government is in the process of establishing 15 new universities of agriculture. The crops and the soil and the climate in that location is particularly suitable to grow any type of crops or food items that we need for food security in this country. I therefore move that my colleagues join me in allowing this bill to pass so that we can establish this federal university. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Any more contribution? I'll put the question. Honorable colleagues, the question is the bill be now read the second time. Those in favor of the motion, say aye. Those against it, say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk is invited to read the long title of the bill.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, a bill for an act to establish the Federal University of Agriculture, Sabangida, Lantan, to make comprehensive provisions for its due management and administration and for related matters. Second reading.
Bill is referred to Committee on Tertiary Education Services. Third order of the day is commencement of debate on the general principles of Bill for an Act to amend the University of Lagos Act, Chapter U9, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, provide for the election and tenure of deans of faculties, schools, institutes, or teaching units, and for related matters, standing in the name of Honorable J. Agwam Jarigbe. Honorable members who recall the bill was read the first time on Thursday, 10 December 2015. I now invite Honorable Jarigbe to move the bill be now read the second time.
Mr. Speaker, may I move that item number 3 on the order paper be stepped down as Honorable Jarigbe apparently is not available to move it. I so move.
Item 3 on the order paper stepped down by leave of the House. Fourth order of the day, honorable colleagues, is a motion on need to develop the Olumirin waterfall in Erini Jasha, Uriade local government, Osun State, into a world-class tourist destination and a hydro power generation site, standing in the name of Honorable Oluwale Oke. Honorable Oluwale Oke is now invited to move the motion.
Mr. Speaker, once again I rise to move that item number 4 on the order paper be stepped down as Honorable Oke is not available. I so move.
Item stepped down by leave of the House. Fifth order of the day, honorable colleagues, a motion on need to construct security fence around the Sambakwe International Airport, Imo State, standing in the name of Honorable BDK. Honorable BDK is now invited to move the motion.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, distinguished colleagues. My name is Honorable Bid Uchenna Eke. I represent the good people of Abombise, Ngobala Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, the motion reads the need to construct a security fence around the Sam Mbakwe International Airport, Imo State. The House notes the current cases of security breaches at the nation's airports, which are often as a result of the expansive and porous nature of the airports. And as such, it is difficult for the security personnel to secure and is therefore easily accessible by hoodlums and animals. Disturbed by the numerous cases of stowaways at the airports, some of which resulted in death. Also disturbed by the rampant cases of stray animals and sometimes humans on the runways of Sam Mbakwe International Airport, Imo State, some of which would have ended in fatalities but for the dexterity of the pilots. Aware that under Annex 17 of the International Civil Aviation Standard Procedures, every airport is supposed to be protected by a security fence and not a perimeter fence, as is the case in major airports in the country. Worried by the lack of any form of fencing at the Sam Mbakwe International Airport, Owerri, the House resolves to, one, urge the Federal Ministry of Aviation to construct a security fence at the Sam Mbakwe International Airport, Owerri, Imo State, and other federal airports across the country. Two, that the House mandate the committees on aviation and legislative compliance to ensure compliance of this motion. I so move, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Honorable Joseph.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, my name is Honorable Ayodeji Joseph. I represent Apapa Federal Constituency. I'm from Lagos State. I rise to second the motion as moved by my honorable colleague. I so second.
Honorable BDK, 2 minutes.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, distinguished colleagues. This motion is a very important motion that needs the support of every member in this chamber. Distinguished colleagues, you are aware that there are several incursions at the airports across Nigeria. And we have cases of these incursions that would have resulted to the death of Nigerians and passengers. Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, if Mr. Speaker permits, there is a check done by Business Day over the lack of perimeter fences across the airports. And this was carried out as a result of incidences that happened. One, at Akure Airport. Mr. Speaker, the recent incursion of Akure Airport runway by cows that caused Air Peace aircraft to delay landing for about 20 minutes. There are also cases of thieves opening up cargo at some airports. There are claims and denials by airlines and authorities of the airport, FAN, NCAA, over an attempt by hoodlums to take away luggages of passengers. Sometimes stray animals come across the runways, and this would have resulted some casualties and dangerous casualties that would have taken the lives of Nigerians. Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, is an important motion and a very straightforward motion. We need to secure the airports across the country. And the worst of it all is the Sam Mbakwe International Cargo Airport, where there is no fencing at all. The standard, the international standard, is a security fencing. But at the Sam Mbakwe International Cargo Airport, there is none at all. So this motion is urging the federal government to put in place security fences across Sam Mbakwe International Airport and other federal airports in Nigeria. I call on my colleagues distinguished colleagues of this hallowed chamber to support this motion. Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I'll put the question. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. The ayes have it. The sixth order of the day is a motion on need to stop the increasing rate of child labor, molestation, and abuse in Nigeria, standing in the name of Honorable Mosade Benidium. Honorable Mosade is now invited to move the motion.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, Honorable colleagues.
Order.
I remain Omosade Gabriela Igbinedion, representing the people of Ovia Northeast and Ovia Southwest Federal Constituency of Edo State. Need to stop the increasing rate of child labor, molestation, and abuse in Nigeria. The House is aware that the children are gifts from Almighty God, and as such should be loved, provided for, and protected. Also aware that the Child's Right Act, as passed by the National Assembly, shows commitment to work with international labor organizations to combat child labor in Nigeria. Disturbed at the sudden and disturbing rise in the rate of child labor, molestation, and abuse in Nigeria. Worried that the recent data published by the National Bureau of Statistics shows that 50.8% of Nigerian children aged between 5 and 17 are engaged in child labor. Again, aware that child labor entails work that are mentally, physically, socially, or morally dangerous and harmful to the children, and ultimately deprives them the opportunity of good education. Concerned that oftentimes child domestic help are forced to do work that are beyond their tender bodies and eventually stunt the general development of the children involved. Also concerned that children who depend on the care of adults often end up being molested and maltreated in ways that are outrightly inhumane. Notes with concern the report in the Vanguard newspaper of Tuesday, November 14th, 2017, where in Lagos, a woman threw her 15-year-old mate from the balcony of a two-story building on the accusation that she stole her jewelry. Also notes another case reported in the Punch newspaper of Saturday, January 6, 2018, where again,
Honorable Dazuki, please go back to your seat.
was arrested
Honorable
for locking
Dazuki
up
and
her
Co., please.
11-year-old housemaid in a poorly ventilated house without food and traveled for the Christmas. Further aware of a survey by the National Population Commission in 2014, which shows that 6 out of 10 children have experienced some form of violence, and 50% of Nigerian children have experienced physical violence, and that between 2014 to date, there has not been any improvement. Also disturbed, that child sexual abuse is beginning to rear its ugly head in Nigeria, and the most recent happened in Lagos, where a school supervisor was accused of sexually molesting a 2-year-old child.
Order.
Observes that there is no better time than now to declare a state of emergency against all forms of child abuse
Honorable Sapana and
in
Co.
Nigeria.
Honorable Sapana and
of
Co.
the provisions of Section 14,
Please.
Subsection 1B of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended, which states that the security and welfare of the people shall be the primary purpose of government. Resolved to 1, urge the Ministry of Women Affairs and Labor and Productivity to put modalities in place to arrest the spate of child abuse in Nigeria. 2, mandate the Committees on Women Affairs and Social Development, Human Rights and Labor, Employment and Productivity to A, enlighten the public on the need to bring incidences of child molestation and abuse to the notice of the relevant authorities, and B, investigate the trend and report to the House within 2 weeks for further legislative action. I so move.
Order. Any contributor to the debate? Honorable Henry, have you changed your seat?
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, Henry Daniel Ofongo is my name. Mr. Speaker, I represent Southern Nigeria Federal Constituency of Bayelsa State. Mr. Speaker, I stand to support this motion as ably moved. And I want to say that okay, second, okay. Mr.
You are seconding. So, Honorable Mosade, please lead the debate.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, distinguished colleagues. Indeed, this motion is just to bring to the floor once again the reality of what is currently taking place across the country. Mr. Speaker, distinguished honorable members, there is a loud outcry on the rate of child labor, molestation, and abuse that
Honorable Goni, go to your seat.
On the rise. It is a fact that about 6 out of every 10 children experience some form of violence, and about half of all children in Nigeria have experienced physical violence between 2014 and now. Indeed, I would say that these figures are alarming. The National Population Commission has certified that these figures are precise. Let me state that it is an international duty of government to uphold the dignity of man. This can only be done with the independence gained from education, a good quality of life, and independent income. Child labor destroys the creativity and the innocence of the young, and therefore must be stopped. Mr. Speaker, distinguished honorable colleagues, ending child labor, molestation, and abuse will allow the young to have greater chances of education and development. This will increase the human resources of the country for the future, thus encouraging economic growth. Finally, the primary purpose of justice is the prevention of crime and protection of the innocent. It is to achieve these purposes that child molesters and abusers should not be entitled to lenient punishment. The purposes of punishment are proportional retribution, deterrence, and prevention of crime. Rehabilitation should be secondary at worst. I therefore urge my honorable colleagues to please support this motion. At least I would say that all of us here are parents, and some of us also are blessed with looking after children in our custody. It is our duty to protect the young and the innocent and ensure that they are given the right environment and conducive environment in which to flourish. So I therefore urge you all to please support this very important motion, as we'll be celebrating Children's Day over the weekend. And what better way to give our children a better future than to support support a motion such as this. Thank you very much.
Honorable Osai Osai.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker, distinguished honorable colleagues. I remain Honorable Osai, Nicholas Osai. I represent local Kwani Federal Constituency of Delta State. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support this motion and to thank the mover of this motion for having the vision for him to have brought this motion to be. Mr. Speaker, the prayer is very simple. It says, urge Ministry of Women Affairs and Labor and Productivity to put modalities in place to address child abuse in Nigeria. Mr. Speaker, we all know issues of child abuse have become very, very rampant in our country, and we need to address this issue. Mr. Speaker, I think the issues of child abuse as a result of poverty in the land today. Mr. Speaker, distinguished honorable colleagues, there's need for the necessary agencies of government to activate government apparatus to address the situation that we're having in our country today. Oftentimes, people sell their children because of poverty in the land today. Mr. Speaker, distinguished honorable colleagues, these are children that will become great tomorrow if we're taken care of. Mr. Speaker, distinguished honorable colleagues, the essence of governance is to bring palliative to the people, is to address the concerns of the people. The people are hungry and they are selling off their children. Mr. Speaker, that is the critical issue the House have to look into to address those situations. I believe the agencies of government necessary to put every modality in place to address this situation. The National Assembly have passed law on child matters, and that law should be activated. So at the end of the day, even the big ones in the society that are taking opportunity of their wealth to be able to exploit these children and bring inhumanity against man should be also addressed. So that's why I have to also thank the mover of this motion, that the concerned committee of the House should collaborate with the necessary agencies of government to address the situation. I think it's very, very important at Jamaica. On this ground, Mr. Speaker, I urge everyone. Today you have a lot of baby factory in many places. We hear about issues of baby factory in Imo State. We hear on issues of baby factory in Abia State. We
Silence,
hear on
please.
issues of baby factory in most states across
Silence.
the country. Mr. Speaker, we are all living witness of the baby factory in our country. Mr. Speaker, we also heard about baby factory in Lagos State. Mr. Speaker, these issues must be addressed, whereby women are subjected to give birth to children that will be sold. And when you sell children, you don't also know what they want to use the children for. Mr. Speaker, that is slavery in our country. And this issue must be arrested. So I want to thank Honorable Amosode for bringing this motion and for bringing it into the limelight so that Nigeria will know what is happening in this country. And for government to also know that it is their responsibility to address the situation. To address the situation because we have just passed budget. And it behold on the executive to implement this budget so that at the end of the day there will be palliative. There will be succor to the teeming population of our country. A situation where a woman will like to sell her own children is calamity. We have never witnessed that in government in our country. And we are experiencing it today. And we are urging the executive to make sure they arrest the situation. And the only way they can arrest the situation is implementing the budget of 2018 effectively. So I urge my colleagues to support this motion with the speed of light it requires. So at the end of the day, it will all fall down to the doorstep of the executive, which has been empowered by law to implement what the House has passed. Thank you, and I rest my case.
Duku, Honorable.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker, my highly respected colleagues. I'm Honorable Dr. Aisha Jibril Duku, Gimbiar Duku, member representing Dukuna for the Federal Constituency. I come from Gombe State. I want to start by thanking my sister for this wonderful motion on the issue of child abuse. Mr. Speaker, the success of this motion depends on three major issues. Number one, there is a rising number of orphans, especially in the Northeast, due to insurgency. These orphans are left alone on their own to cater for themselves and their siblings, and they are on the increase day by day. Number two, the poverty indices are increasing instead of decreasing. So many families cannot afford even a meal, not to talk of 3 square meals per day. However, there is light at the end of the tunnel because the Universal Basic Education Act that I have seen is going to be amended should be able to take care of these children. Mr. Speaker, if the Universal Basic Education Act is implemented to the core, there will be no child left because it is a 9-year basic education system that allows children from nursery school to junior secondary school. So if these children are taken to school, there will be no child left at home, there will be no child to go for hard labor, there will be no child left to hoodlums to take care of. So this motion is very, very good, but we have to look at other sectors like the Universal Basic Education Act. We have to make sure that it is implemented and all defaulting parents or custodians of these children are penalized for not allowing the children to go to school. Not only that, for children to also go and remain in school to complete the 9-year basic education curriculum. That is the only way we can make sure that child labor is either stopped or reduced to the barest minimum. I urge my colleagues to support this very, very important motion in order to safeguard the lives of the children who are going to be the future leaders of tomorrow. Thank you.
Any more contributors? Okay, Honorable Henry, who seconded the motion.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. Henry Daniel Ofongo is my name. Mr. Speaker, I represent Southern Niger Federal Constituency of Bayelsa State. Mr. Speaker, I stand to support this motion as ably and timely moved by Honorable Omosode. Mr. Speaker, I think the problem we have in this country, the orientation agency should carry out enlightenment programs and all that and all that. Today, I know that it is all over the news, it's everywhere, on what is happening to children, and we know that Nigerians are shouting, parents whose children are being molested or
silence, please. Please, kind of honorable members, please.
In some cases,
silence, please.
When children are maltreated by caregivers, we know they come to the public, just like the example she quoted in what happened in Lagos about the lady that locked up a child in the house and traveled for Christmas. But Mr. Speaker, it is far beyond this. This thing is becoming, too high. The prevalence of it is becoming, too much because the authorities that are supposed to carry out the job of making sure that child molestation, child labor is stopped, is not doing their job effectively. Why do I say so? Go to the streets. Today, just even in Abuja here, you see so many children going about, children that should be in school, carrying plates and begging. What does that mean? There is poverty. While we understand that there is poverty, that does not equally mean that the authorities should fold their hands and sit down. Get the children, see where their parents are. Even if they don't have money to sponsor the children in school, the Universal Basic Education has,
make provision for that, but because the authorities have refused to act, by making sure that these children are taken out of the streets and put in school at the appropriate time. So what do parents do? They allow them to just go out. And in course of doing this, they now run into the hands of people who take undue advantage of them to start using them for drug trafficking, forced labor, and outright sale of children. Now, if you look at it in that light, you know that it is the duty of the authorities to make sure that they are on top of the game. Now, why is it that parents will decide to even sell children or give their children out in child labor? It's because the authorities are not acting. So in my own way, I want to say that it is not only about enlightenment. People are well enlightened, people know. If it is as a result of poverty, then the authorities should come into it timely. Just like what Osai equally said. In the budget that we are passing every year, thank God, we are now in another budget cycle again. Please let the executive ensure that every provision that is made in respect of education, particularly in the universal basic education and skills acquisition, should be focused on those areas and should be implemented properly, so that for those parents who are poor, who are looking for money to give out their children, well, the government will be able to handle that situation. Then, equally, I think forceful measures have to be taken against some people. Because if people now start locking up children, trafficking them and all that, and the authorities are not on top of it to arrest, prosecute, and then make the public understand that this is what people pay for doing these kind of things. And rather, even in some cases where prosecution takes place, the public does not know. So many people think nothing is happening. That's why they are still engaged in it. So in most of these cases, once such people are arrested and prosecuted, it should even be brought to the public domain so that others who even have the intention of wanting to carry out this kind of acts will desist from it. This is my own contribution, and I'll say let my colleagues, all of us, to support this motion. Thank you.
Any more contributor? So, okay, Honorable Rita Oji.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker and distinguished colleagues. My name is Rita Oji, member representing Ajeromi, Ife Lord Federal Constituency from Lagos State. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise to support this motion. But my main problem is sometimes we talk about problems without looking at the causes. Mr. Speaker, if you look at the axis of, I'm not talking about only girl now. When a man that is earning 30 or 20,000 as salary keep marrying more than 20 wives and keep producing children in that way, Mr. Speaker, sir, if we are talking about taking care of this child labor, it will emanate from the male that are getting married and giving birth like that. There is no how their financial burden can carry the load of bringing these children to this planet. Let the truth be told. We cannot carry all the labor on the government. The government have their own responsibility they are taking care of. But in a situation where marrying wife and giving birth to children become competitive, when you get, for instance, sir, within my axis, you will see a gate man that has 4 or 5 wives and is bragging of taking the 7 or 8 wife more. And you look at the number of children that a man that the salary is not competent enough to take, even him and the wife alone, will be giving birth to 30, 40 children. How then do we think we can take care of these children that are having nothing? That is only when they are 15 or 16 or 10, 11, they will start giving birth and get married again. Poverty is something that we share the blame too. And when we're talking about this child labor, why would a child die of hunger? They will carry out one activity or the other in order to go and get fed. Some of them have turned to beggars in the quest of trying to feed. They will be raped. They will undergo a lot of problems. because they want to succeed. I want to say, sir, when we were talking about government, child act and all these things, we should be able to advise the male. Let Nigerian men know that giving birth to more than the children you can take care of, you are becoming an accessory to this problem we are talking about.
Honorable Muhammad Soba, please.
Mr. Speaker, sir, no matter how rich men are, you come and look at them. Many of them don't have more than 4 or 5. Clinton had only 1 child. Obama had 2. But in Nigeria, a man of his class will have 30 or 41. And in the line, you
Honorable Zakari Mohammed, please.
And you endanger them because you cannot take care of
Honorable
them.
Pijabi, Honorable
I want to
Namdas,
lend my voice to this support.
Honorable Musa.
This motion should stay through. Our men will equally be careful. In fact, if we are going to even hold them responsible, if you know you cannot take care of a child, don't bring him or her to this planet Earth so that you don't cause more harm than good. And then you beg people
Honorable
to marry them
Asadu,
because
please.
they are now there. You beg them
Honorable
to marry
Pat Asadu.
Somebody of
Please.
my age can stay and marry
Honorable Wase.
as old as a young child of 15
Honorable Wase.
years will get married because they're looking for a way of getting them away from the family. Mr. Speaker, sir, mine is let the men keep themselves tight from getting married if your resources are not sufficient enough to take care of the children you are going to bring up. Every father that has children you cannot take care of, you are one of those that are making them undergo this child labor. Thank you.
Honorable Lamburan, please, can you allow the speaker, please?
So, honorable colleagues, I'll put the question. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Chairman, Rules and Business moved that we suspend the rules.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Okay, Jeff. I represent the good people of Buruku. My dear colleagues, I'm from Benue State. Mr. Speaker, I rise to move that the House do suspend the provisions of Order 7, Rule 2, Sub-Rule 2, to allow the Speaker to preside in the Committee of the Whole. I so move.
Please, member.
Any seconder? Honorable Kaita.
Yeah, right, honorable colleagues, I rise to second the motion ably moved by the Attorney General of the House. Thank you.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Chairman, Rules and Business, can you move that we resolve in the Committee of the Whole? Oh, okay. Let me read the seventh order of the day. Honorable colleagues, consideration of 3 reports of the Committee on Housing. Honorable members who recall the reports were laid on Thursday, 22nd February 2018. Honorable Ahmed Babakaita will move for the consideration of the reports.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. I rise to second the motion ably moved by the Attorney General of the House. I so second.
Honorable Bago, second.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, I am Mohammed Umaru Bago from Chanchaga Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I rise to second the motion as moved by Honorable Abakaita. I so second.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Rules and Business.
The British parliamentarian. Sorry.
Honorable Benilar, please, can you resume your seat and keep quiet?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Women in PDP.
Okay, Jeff, I represent the good people of Buruku. I'm from Benue State. So, Speaker, I rise to move that the House do resolve into committee of the whole for purposes of consideration of the 3 reports earlier moved. I so move.
Honorable Wase, second.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, my name is Ahmed Idris, representing Wasi. I rise to second the motion as moved by my brother. Thank you, sir.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. House hereby resolve into committee of the whole to consider report. Honorable colleagues, the first report to be taken is the report of the House Committee on Housing on a motion on the need to ensure full compliance with the National Housing Fund Act for effective housing delivery in Nigeria. I now call on the chairman of the committee, Honorable Ahmed Kaita, to give us a synopsis of the report.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. But I will crave the indulgence of my colleague to please stay in silence so that I can be able to take this.
Please, honorable members,
Mr. Chairman, right,
please.
Colleagues. Mr. Chairman, my dear colleague, this report is on a resolution of the House that was passed on Thursday, 20th July 2017, on the urgent need to ensure full compliance with the provision of National Fund Act for the effective housing delivery in Nigeria, and mandated the Committee on Housing to hold a public hearing and invite the stakeholders, particularly the banks, insurance companies, CVN, FHS, MDS, and all the rest. Mr. Speaker, if I might digress small, this motion and subsequent amendment that we are going to consider has been in these chambers from the 6th Assembly. It emerged and came back in the 7th Assembly, all in the airport. But under your leadership, Mr. Speaker, you said that all those critical bills and amendments should be brought forth. And it is on that reason that this motion was considered. The committee held a public hearing on the 12th and 13th of December 2017 and received submission from Federal Ministry of Power, Works and Housing, Federal Mortgage Bank, Central Bank, NICOM, Nigerian Labour Congress, Real Estate Developers Association, League of Civil Society Groups. After due consultation and of the aforementioned stakeholders and review on the submission made available, the committee find that right from inception, strategic provision of the National Housing Funds have not been observed.
Organizations like the Central Bank of Nigeria, commercial bank and insurance companies have failed over the years to comply with the provision of the Act by refusing to invest into the fund and provided in Section 3, Section 5, and Section 11 of the Act. The committee also found out that the refusal to observe provision of the law by such critical stakeholders has adversely affected the financial capacity of the fund and the operation of the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria, thereby sabotaging the achievement of the national housing policy of this government and all the successive government. The committee also observed that the Central Bank of Nigeria and the federal government through the Ministry of Finance and Housing, despite the breach of the NHF Act, further promoted the creation of a parallel housing program and institution like a Nigerian Mortgage Refinancing Company, Nigerian Housing Finance Program, and Family Support. Furthermore, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, the Central Bank is supposed to be a stakeholder of Federal Mortgage Bank, but they have not a shareholder, but they have not even capitalized their shares with the bank. So, which is making the Federal Mortgage issue, compounding the issues. So the committee again found out that the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria and the National Housing Bank have not been given required support to discharge its mandate. So, straight to the point, Mr. Speaker, after due diligence and consultation, the committee also, based on this finding, the committee therefore present the following recommendation for approval of the House. First, that the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, commercial bank and insurance companies should be compelled to perform their statutory duties and invest in the National Housing Fund as provided by this Act. That the federal government should recapitalize the Federal Mortgage Bank and make it more vibrant and responsive to its function for effective housing delivery in Nigeria. Three, that the promotion of parallel organization against the interests of the Federal Republic of Nigeria should be further investigated and sanctioned. Four, that the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria should be given necessary government support in areas like guarantee and allocation to empower the banks for maximum productivity. Lastly, the provision of the National Housing Act should be reviewed to make the law more enforceable to ensure effective housing delivery in Nigeria. It is our belief that if these recommendations are approved and implemented, the housing sector in Nigeria will be revived. I dare invite my dear colleagues to approve the recommendation. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Honorable colleagues, you've had the briefing from the chairman of the committee. That's quite a detailed, very detailed brief and commendable. So we'll move to the recommendations, which is on page 6 of the report, and we'll take them seriatim, one after the other. Honorable Galtungo, what are you carrying? Honorable Ikara, find a seat. So, honorable colleagues, we start with recommendation 1. Recommendation 1 carried. Recommendation 2. Recommendation 3 carried. Recommendation 4. Recommendation 5. Recommendation 6. Conclusion? So we'll move to the second report, which is repeal and reenact National Housing Fund Act. Honorable Baba Keita, also Baba Keita, to brief the committee of the hall. Don't know why I always call him Baba.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. I remain Ahmed Baba Keita, representing Kanchi Kusada Inga of Katsina State. Mr. Speaker, right honorable colleague, I believe the report we are about to consider is one of the most critical pieces of legislation that is needed to be considered and passed by this 8th National Assembly. Especially, like I gave the history, that in the previous assembly of the 6th and 7th Assembly, this same enactment and bill made it to the 3rd reading, only that for it not to be implemented, and is holding the housing delivery section in Nigeria. This is because the bill deals with one of the most important sectors of the economy of our national life. I therefore urge my colleagues from the onset to be attentive and give this report the necessary consideration to reform the housing sector for the benefit of our people. Mr. Chairman, this report is an outcome of the hard work of the entire membership of the Housing Committee on a bill to repeal and reenact the National Housing Fund. You may recall that the bill had earlier been passed and was referred to the committee on the other of the House for further legislative action. The committee met and decided to hold a public hearing on the bill to lend a window of opportunity to the public for their own input. The public hearing was successfully held with active participation of all major stakeholders. Because of its critical nature, all the stakeholders participated in all the activities, who made part and then thereby making far-reaching suggestions and contributions. The committee thereafter met separately in a markup and sound technical session to consider and make recommendation for the approval of the committee of the whole. Basically, the bill seeks to expand the sources of funding for us to be able to deliver housing in Nigeria. The Federal Mortgage Bank for better and optimum, and to assist the Federal Mortgage Bank for better and optimum performances. The following are therefore the key recommendations of the committee. I must highlight here, sir, that the bulk of the act is as it is. There are only some very few points that the committee sat down and deliberated. So on that, section 2 of the report dealing with objective of the fund, we recommend and the expansion of the function of the fund to include provide loans to private developers, housing corporations, housing cooperatives to enable them develop low-cost housing for Nigerians. Section 3. Section 3 of the report is dealing with the resources of the fund. The committee recommended a sustainable development levy of locally produced of imported cement as an additional source of funding. Consequently, introduce a new section 4 to make provision for the sustainable development levy on cement at the rate of 2,000 naira only per ton or 100 naira per bag. Other key areas which the committee made strong recommendation has to do with the
silence, please.
Of the
silence,
banks,
please, honorable
insurance
members.
companies and pension fund administrators, align with the input received from these sectors. The committee recommended innovative ways of sourcing for funds from the sectors. 1. Insurance. Every registered insurance company shall invest a minimum of 10% of its profit before tax to be paid into the fund through the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria, and this bill referred to as the bank, at an interest not exceeding 1% above the interest rate payable at current account by banks. Pension. Every pension registered pension fund administration shall invest a minimum of 10% of its profit before tax into the fund through the Mortgage Bank of Nigeria, and this will be reported at the bank at an interest rate not exceeding above the interest rate payable on current account by banks. Another recommendation of note is the duty of the respective regulators in the various sectors to make collection and remit to the fund through the Federal Mortgage Bank. Section 10 of the report stipulates the duty of the Central Bank of Nigeria to collect contribution from banks and also outline penalties for failure of commercial banks to comply. Last but not the least, Section 11 of the report provides the duties for National Insurance Commission to facilitate the collection of investments for registered insurance companies to the fund and condition for such investment. Section 12 of the report of the same manner states the duties of National Pension Commission in collaboration with the Federal Inland Revenue Service to collect. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman, Right Honorable colleagues. Let me just highlight, make some salient point here so that we are on the same page and have a complete draft of this. In most of our contemporary nations in Africa, they apply the same method because there is no way government can provide funding for housing everywhere in the world. So what we do here is we try to get innovative ways, just like other countries have done, to be able to provide housing for Nigeria. For example, the 10% of this constitutes just a very negligible amount to the bank profit, but yet it provides an enormous amount to be able to use. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Right Honorable.
We've had the briefing from the chairman of the committee. Bill has 34 clauses, and we'll take them one clause at a time. We'll start from clause 1. Clause 1, carried. Clause 2. Clause 2. Okay, sure.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to propose for clause 2, Mr. Chairman, that clause 2B says ensure the constant supply of loans to Nigerians. I don't think it's a proper usage. You don't have supply of loans. I want to propose we have ensure the sustainability of loans to Nigerians rather than constant supply of loans.
This on page 2, instead of constant supply of loans, he is proposing that we are mainly to be ensure the sustainability of loans to Nigerians. Any seconder, Deputy Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to second that this amendment be made to show the sustainability.
Those in favor of the amendment say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. So clause 2 as amended, carried. Clause 3, carried. Clause 4, Sustainable Development Levy. Honorable Nkole.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, honorable colleagues. I'm Honorable Nkole Ukondu, I represent the Chukwuemeka Federal Constituency. My Speaker, my issue and worry on this clause 4. 1, that there shall be paid and credited into the Fund for a Sustainable Development Levy on locally produced and imported cement
at the rate of 2,000 naira per ton or 100 naira per bag of 50 kg. Mr. Speaker, my view, this is double taxation, one, and number two, we shouldn't be seen as making laws that will equally increase the hardship that is already faced, because the price of cement today is at a very neck-breaking price. Even the template that is various manufacturers of this product arrived at fixing that price. It appears too that all these things were already considered. So making the end users to pay more to get this product will automatically too influence the increase in the prices of cement. So my view is that this clause should be deleted. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, that's a very powerful argument in the sense that anyone who has studied the operation of companies will tell you that companies really or rarely do not pay tax. At the end of the day, the tax is passed to consumers. So the question is, how much do we want to impose as tax on cement on our citizens? Because the companies will not pay. It will go, they will recoup their profit. This one goes to the consumers, will be the ones to bear the burden. So whether it should be the case that Honorable Nkole has suggested, to completely delete it or to say, oh no, 2,000 is too much, we can put a value that may not really affect the pricing of cement in such a way as to make it out of reach for ordinary Nigerians. So I don't know what middle of the road position we can take. Honorable Shegun, who is a tax expert.
Mr. Speaker, I didn't want to talk about the tax, but number one, I want to second the amendment as moved by my colleague. There's no reason for us to tax the consumers. If there's any general tax we can think of that can come back to this, it will be better for us, instead of taxing the consumer, to be paying more.
Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, honorable colleagues, I think the argument here is the one you are raising, whether the companies will definitely pass it to the consumers. We want to tax the importers of cement and producers of cement, and that is it. But how do we go about these two? What I'm trying to highlight or say to members here is that as long as we want this fund to have money for housing, then we have to have other sources. Ghana is doing that. We consider Ghana is collecting about 3 cedis compared to just 1 naira that we are collecting. It's very insignificant or negligible, even though it will be passed to the consumers. How are we going to avoid the company passing that? Because the whole idea is to tax the companies, not the individual. And let's have this behind our mind that as long as we want to have housing delivered to Nigeria, then we must be ready to find other sources of funding. So it's not just enough to say, okay, because this is what we have been going through, sir, Mr. Chairman. Every time we come, we say we want to do this, we bring innovative way. At the end of the day, they don't get passed, then we will not get funded, and we will start screaming that we don't have housing. So it's a delicate balancing act that the committee of all has to consider. Thank you.
So Ghana is imposing 3 cedis, according to the chairman. That's their investigation. That's the outcome of their investigation. Honorable, Deputy Minority.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Chairman. My colleague said about taxing the companies, but what you have here is any employee earning, so it's the individual, it's the staff of the company earning.
We are not there yet.
Look at it now. It's clause 4. No, that's clause 4. 4.1. Any employee earning the national minimum wage and above.
No, this one. We are still here. We are still here.
Okay. Sorry, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Auset, he said men shall be paid and credited. I want us to remove the local producer, at least to encourage local producers, and to put the fund more on, at least to discourage people on imported cement also. I think it's very important, Mr. Chairman.
Honorable Austin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Honorable Austin Chukwuka, representing the DAT, the DAT South Federal Constituency of Imo State. Mr. Chairman, I think any attempt at trying to overburden consumers of this product, no matter how you look at it, if you say Ghana does the same thing, what works for Ghana may not work for Nigeria. We must look at our country and our application of our laws the way it should suit us. I can tell you that if we pass this tax to the companies, they will pass it back to consumers. So we must find a way of taxing the companies without taxing the product directly. Because any attempt to do that will boomerang on an increment of the product. So I suggest we delete it completely and then look at the bill again and see where we can exhume funds or money that will tax the companies direct rather than consumers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am Kiruka Onyejo, I represent the Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, if you look at clause 2, you see, notwithstanding the provision of subclause 1 of this clause, the President may, by an executive order, vary, add, delete, amend, or substitute consumer goods, services, or products, and approve rates for the Navy as and when he may deem fit to the Secretary. So, no matter what we do with this clause, if you go to clause 2, a president may wake up and say, tax this weather company 500 naira or 1,000 or 1 million. So I believe that since they did their investigation, if we can proceed with other clause, let us investigate properly the way to do it so that we don't end up passing one bill that will bring hardship to already vulnerable Nigerians as we speak today. Because if you say cement today is 2,000 something, so by the time this bill comes out, they can say, okay, they are paying 1,000 or 2,000 on each bag, so they will just put it anywhere. They can, subject to their interpretation. It could be 1 ton and then somebody will say, my shop, they charge me 2,000 per bag, so it will be 5,000. So what do you do at that point? But I believe that we may proceed with other clauses and look at this clause very critical so that we don't pass one bill that is able to implement.
Atunwa. Oh, empty, okay. Atunwa first before empty.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Chairman, as far as I'm concerned, there are two problems, fundamental issues. First, on the form, the clause itself is not drafted with a great deal of felicity because it's talking about 2,000 naira per ton and 100 naira per bag of 50 kg. It creates a problem because if inflation increases, for example, that what you're trying to achieve may be insufficient at the time. But nonetheless, on principle, I agree with those who have spoken against imposing this levy because it simply creates another source of which the companies will pass it on to the consumers, however you do it. So it becomes part of their cost and they'll pass it on. We live in Nigeria, we see how it works. Even your taxes that companies are supposed to pay when they obtain contracts from government, they pass it on to the consumers. They pass it on. Even VAT that's meant to come from them, they pass it on. So you add another whatever 1,000 naira per ton or per bag, then it's going to be passed on. So I'm wholeheartedly against any stealth tax creeping in.
Empty, Munguno.
Honorable Chairman, honorable members, my name is Mohamed Tai Mungunong. I represent Marke Mungunong, the Federal Constituency of Borno State. Mr. Chairman, I am in support of leaving the provision as it is. I am supporting it because all of us are aware of the very serious housing deficit that we have in this country. And this fund is meant to bridge the housing deficit that we have in this country. So in the long run, it is the poor that we are now seeking to protect and guide their interests that are going to benefit from the funds that are being, the taxes that are being collected from cement manufacturers and importers. It is ultimately the poor that is going to benefit by bridging the housing deficit that we have in this country. I want to give an example of education tax fund. Because of the education tax fund, for which companies are paid, we have now seen a lot of development in our tertiary institutions. Another window of funding our tertiary institutions. A lot of physical structures that ordinarily cannot be done through our normal budgetary processes are being funded through the education tax fund. So mutandis, if this one also is passed, it's going to play the same magic like education tax fund. So I am saying that this provision should be allowed to stay as it is, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, instead of belaboring this issue, I think in line with conventional wisdom, it may be necessary for us to defer consideration of this clause and let the committee that worked on this bill in conjunction with Committee on Finance make a determination as to if this provision is not made, how much are we likely to generate from other sources of funding in this bill? How much are we likely to generate, whether that would be enough? First determination. Secondly, if what will be realized in consequence of provisions about funding will be so minimal as not to make sense, then how much can we genuinely say that in the interest of our people will be willing to impose as tax? It may not be 2,000, it may not be the 1,000 is spelled out in the bill. Any other amount that we think the consumers of cement will gladly bear in order to rein in more revenue for breaching the housing gap that we have in the country. So I think that would be better for us to defer the consideration of this clause until that determination is made. But I don't want us to just throw this and then at the end of the day there's nothing in the bill.
Truly, Mr. Chairman, and that is the thrust of this amendment. It's very critical. Like I said, we did comparative analysis on how best we can get source of funding for the mortgage for housing, and that particular what I would rather plead with the members here is I agree it's a double-edged sword, but just like the Honorable Manguno said, we cannot just continue to lament while we are doing nothing. At the end of the day, if after consideration, after wasting this enormous time and resources, we go back to the same state that we meet in the 66th Assembly and the 7th Assembly, then honestly we are not decent. What I think, I would rather think that some of you would suggest if the 2,000 naira is too big per ton, that is for 20 bags, which is only 100 naira per bag, then how much is feasible? But going back to the status quo just shows that after wasting this time and resources, we didn't do nothing. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
The Honorable Show has an information.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Shehu Garba Sarkinoma. I represent Jama Sanga Federal Concern. Mr. Chairman, the problem of the National Housing Fund is not the failure or the absence of regulation or adequate provision for funding. There has never been less than 20% of companies have always complied with the provision, the current provision as it exists. The National Housing Fund, which is housed under the Federal Mortgage Bank, lacks the capacity, it lacks the structure, it lacks the framework to be able to collect this current provision that was made in law. They don't collect. Less than 10% of companies comply. So it is an issue of strengthening the fund, putting in a framework where they could adequately even collect what is even provided for. Mr. Chairman, the issue of whether 100 naira or 200 naira on the back of cement is not the case. Nigeria has been adjudged as being one of the most hostile countries for businesses in the world. Because besides the tax rate, whether it's 30 or 40%, besides the tax rate, companies have to pay a multiplicity of charges. You are talking about education fund, you are talking about ITF, you are talking about PENCOM, and so many other levies. Companies will like to have these taxes aggregated into a single tax rate, whether it is 30 or 40%, they will pay. But they don't want multiplicity of rates because the cost of administering these charges, Mr. Chairman, is a burden on them. But for the National Housing Fund, their problem is not that we don't have adequate provision to ensure sustainability of funding. The problem of the National Housing Fund is that they don't have the framework, they don't have a structure to collect even what is provided for them by law currently. So I think we need to re-examine this. It's not a question of the absence of a source of funding, but they have failed to even collect what is provided for them by the laws we have now in our books, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, if you just hit the gavel, you empower me to move against this endless debate because I think your ruling was very beautiful. The chairman has a second opportunity in conjunction with the chairman of the Committee of Finance to rework this and bring it back. If at the end of the day we may take a ruling, but after your ruling, maybe because you didn't hit the gavel, the debate was going on endlessly. I think that is what we should do.
So I think that's a better option, really, for us to. It is not that we're throwing this provision away, but we're saying we have to defy it until we have worked out the consequences of putting this one in the bill. And that can be done between you and the Chairman House Committee on Finance. Once you are done, pass the message to Chairman Rules and Business, who will now list it for this just clause 4. So clause 4 deferred, clause 5 carried. It has been carried. Clause 5 is carried on. Clause 6. 5 is carried. And then we will have to come by way of motion. Clause 6. Pardon?
Please, honorable members. Silence, please.
I think by popular consensus we will have to reverse ourselves on clause 5. So they say, as it is said, whatever is worth doing is worth doing well. So we'll go back on clause 5. We'll start with the Deputy Minority Leader.
Thank you, sir. If you recall, Mr. Speaker, that was where I jumped clause 4 into clause 5. When you say 2.5% of anybody earning above 10,000 naira, 2.5% of 10,000 is 2,500 naira.
That means the person's take home is going to be 7,500 naira. Look at it now, sir. It's clearly written there.
Yeah, 2.5. Yes, sir. But still.
It says 2.5% of his monthly income on the phone.
That's 150 naira.
But still, sir, Mr. Speaker, sir, you and I know that this money, you're collecting money from, you have different sources of funding. Why are we going to tax the worker again when he's complaining that the one he has is not enough? We can skip this one. We can delete anything concerning taxing the worker, the individual worker.
I think that is the status quo. That is what currently obtains and is being paid without complaint right now. That is, it's not an, Chairman, this is not what our committee recommended actually. This is the practice right now. And then 2.5% is not too significant really.
When you are buying out, you are even funded. If you don't utilize it.
And if you don't utilize, it's like savings. The money is given back to you. Yeah, of course. So that's the current practice. So we shouldn't be crying more than the bereaved, Honorable Atunwa. And the reason why Chuchu was confused was that he read arithmetics instead of mathematics. Honorable Atunwa.
Members of carried, Mr. Chairman, sir. I hold fire. Mr. Chairman, since members of carried, I hold fire.
Clause 5 now, carried. 6, carried. 7, carried. 8, carried. 9, carried. 10, carried. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18,